Nduduzo Makhathini grew up in the lush and rugged hillscapes of Umgungundlovu, South Africa, a peri-urban landscape in which music and ritual practices were symbolically linked. The area is significant historically as the site of the Zulu king Udingane kingdom between 1828 and 1840. It's important to note that the Zulu, in fact the African warrior code, is deeply reliant on music for motivation and healing. This deeply embedded symbiosis is key to understanding Makhathini's vision. The church also played a role in Makhathini's musical understanding as he hopped from church to church in his younger years in search for only music. The legends of South African jazz are deep influences as well. In particular, Bheki Mseleku, Moses Molelekwa, Abdullah Ibrahim. Open quote, the earlier musicians put a lot of emotions in music they played, close quote. He says, I think it may also be linked to the political climate of those days. I feel there is a uniqueness about South African jazz that created an interest all around the world. And we're slowly losing that too in our music today. I personally feel that our generation has to be very conscious about retaining these nuances in the music we play today. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you his journey in music as he grew. He'll tell us the rest, but he has performed, active as an educator and researcher. He's also the head of the music department at Fort Hare University in the Eastern Cape. He has performed at renowned festivals including Cape Town International Jazz Festival, at the Essence Festival in both New Orleans in the United States and South Africa, and in 2019 made his debut appearances at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York City, as well as Jazz in Lincoln Center, where he was featured as a guest with Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra on their 3-night musical celebration. The South African Songbook in Rose Theatre. He is a member of Shabaka Hutchings Band, Shabaka and the Ancestors, appearing on the album Wisdom of Elders, and has also collaborated with artists including Logan Richardson, Nasheed Waits, Taras Martin, Stephon Harris, Billy Harper, Azar Lawrence, Black Coffee, and Dawson's. In addition to producing albums for his peers, such as Thandiswa Mazwai Belete and Tumi Mkhorosi's project Elo, Makhathini has released 8 albums of his own since 2014, when he founded the label Gundu Entertainment in partnership with his wife, vocalist Omagugu Makhathini. Those albums earned him multiple awards, including Sketches of Tomorrow, Mother Tongue, Listening to the Ground, Matunda ya Kwanza, Itilongo, the African Peace Suite, Inner Dimensions, and Reflections. His album Ikambi was the first to be released on Universal Music South Africa and won Best Jazz Album at the South African Music Awards. His Blue Note debut, Modes of Communication, Letters from the Underworld, was named one of the best jazz albums of 2020 by the New York Times, and was followed by In the Spirit of Ntu in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, legendary, amazing, son of the soil. Ha, ha, ha. Guys, you won't believe that this interview is happening for the second time. The first time we had it, we had an incredible interview, and what happened? The sound was bad. And I'd like to apologize on his behalf. I've heard but his humility said, no, I'll come back and do it again. Yeah. All
the love. All the love.
Love you, Mfowethu.
Siyabonga, I love you too.
Magwandi, ngifunda ngamabomu biography yakho.
Oh man.
Into anamele zazi ukuthi amakhrontman asebenzile.
Siyabonga. Siyabonga.
Ngijabulele ukukubona. I've been keeping up with you on social media. Maybe we can talk about, you've just come out of your European tour.
Yes.
Let's start it there before I take you way back, and then Mrs. Yabuya food.
Sure. 2022 has been really a special year, Puti, I think in many ways. And I mean, when we were talking earlier on, we talk about this synchronicity with the cosmos, and when things just happen and there's no effort. And part of the European tour, really what was special for me is like seeing these stories make their way into societies that are otherwise unaware of who we are, at least from our own perspective, you know. So even though this was a tour and we're performing, but I think there is an element of it, yomsebenzi esiwenzayo, which is to increase the vibrational depth of umsebenzi wedlozi. So I think umsebenzi uhambe kahle kakhulu, and I'm really honored.
No, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi usebenze kahle uhambe kahle ubuyile futhi uphilile.
Thokozani.
Ngiyezwa noma ngikubamba ukuthi hayi no, lento iphilile kwempela.
Magwandi.
Some of the experiences, some of the venues that you did?
Yeah, I did Blue Note Milano. I did New Morning in Paris. I did Jazz Scene in Oslo. It was like a 6-week tour with only 2 days of break. So I was playing in a different country every day, and was truly special. Yeah, it was truly special.
It's humbling. Guti, the last time we said you were planning, you were about to go on that tour.
Yeah.
And when at the time I did not have any tour planned.
Yeah.
But now we're sitting here. I'm also coming back from an American tour.
That's the thing. I'm like, why are you asking me about a tour? We need to speak about your tour.
And I used to work with the Major League Twins, I'm a DJ, at Metro FM back in the day.
Yeah.
And just to have seen their growth and what they have achieved,
Sure.
it's been nothing but inspirational and amazing.
Yeah.
So I get a call from the US. They're doing an American tour, and then and I was humbled to join them on one date.
Yeah.
And and they humbly, you know, blessed me with featuring on one of their shows. And then nangifike in New York, we had just come from Inzalo Elang in Mpumalanga for the what we call African New Year.
Yeah.
23rd of September.
Yeah.
And at Sigita lapha entabeni, you know, siyobona ilanga liphuma, celebrate nje ukuthi vele singene onyaka nomusha.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I left Inzalo Elanga, the Major League invite happened. Mangifike in New York, then I started understanding the meaning of just show up. Because one thing led to another, to another, to another. It led to an entire tour without an album. And I eventually even had to end up registering my drink with the FDA America. So,
Wow.
Into engifuna ukuyisho ukuthi the power of uNkulunkulu. Unexpected. Sometimes you just show up, izinto ivele ivuleke kwenzeke nje.
Kunjalo.
And ngifuna ungitshele wona with your relationship nomoya.
Injalo, I think particularly with Inzalo Elanga, I think there is an energy that happens at that time that is an energy of manifestation, you know, izinto ziqala ukuvela. If we look at a lot of creation stories throughout the continent, while the kind of Western mythologies, they often speak about ukubunjwa komuntu, and the beginning as a thing that was a construct, as a thing that needed someone to implement. In our stories, we often hear about ukdabuka, this notion of the break that, you know, sadabuka ohlangeni, umveli qala, when we refer to God. So there is this sense in which things emerge for us, as opposed to a deliberate orchestration. But how do we orchestrate our things? We orchestrate through intention. And the intention, I think you all know more, Lord. But the intention is about waking up and wishing for a beautiful day, and wishing for the ones that need to get what they need. And this is the kind of currency that we share as spiritual people, that we wake up and pray for each other. And I think this is the kind of alignment. You've been doing all of this work all of these years, and I think it was a time for this emergence. Things had to just show up, and you just had to sit back and watch Idlozi do the work. So I think I can totally relate to what you're sharing here, but I think also, Puti, we cannot we cannot kind of push aside the work that you've done that has led to people celebrating you. I'm one of those people. I'm one of the people that you inspire deeply. And yeah, so I think there's something about investing energy via intention that leads to this manifestation that lacks the language. We can't explain it. Yeah.
If there's anybody that other people would deem, and for me there isn't anybody who's lost. We're just all going through our own journey. And the awakening happens at its own time. I guess they always say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. What would you say to our young people out there?
I think I've been talking a lot because I work with students in a kind of westernized sense of student and lecturer. And I've been kind of pushing forward this idea that we have to figure out a way to bridge that. We need to lead to a modality of master-disciple. So the master is the one that does, and the disciple is the one that follows. And you know by following. So when someone walks in front of you, this is how you learn. And there is a sense in which the schooling, as it were, in a Western sense, has taken out that nuance. So, and it was incredible last night, Skuluma no Mapumul, about this same thing, Yoguti. Iy'kole zidinga abenzi, and abenzi bazowenza abantwana balandele. And this is the modality of learning, indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili. So it's invoked in many kind of proverbs. So I think, but then umenzi could be your parents to start with. So there is a sense in which we choose our parents when we return on this planet. We believe that we live in an ontotridic kind of circulation where umoya carries through all of these dimensions of being umuntu, untu, and then pinobekona umufi, the part of umu, which is the process of becoming, stays live. And then siyahamba siye emathongweni, silale sivuswa yini ubizo. So this calling also comes with ubizweleni, and that links with your family. Negas lakho ukuthi you're going to be born as part of this family because of this dream. So those are your first masters, your parents. Those are your first masters. And then eskoleni is an extension of that. But I mean, we go to school when we like thina besihamba sino 5, iy'ngane lezi namhlanje sebebe no 7 bona, thina sasihamba impela sibancane, you know. But I think a lot is done in terms of the coding. But of course, we understand in modern society, we lack this kind of hands-on approach to parenting. And we give our kids to iskole. Ngikhumbula when I lived here in Joburg, my kids went to a school just down the road here. And I had not told them about Christianity for my own personal reasons. I want them to live in a pluriverse. I wanted them to know about chemetic knowledge. I want them to know about my art. I wanted to know them about the Bapedi cosmology, Batumedi. I want them to know about all of these interesting concepts that look at God in a different way. So without me saying a word, the kids were going to school. Then my last born asked, "So Baba, Jesus really died for us?" And for me it was, wow. I did not tell you about this, but this is when we start to miss the hands-on approach. So, I mean, what I could really say is it's important to really pay attention to your parents alongside the school, but it's important, incredibly important, to find mentors. And if your mentors could be your teachers, even better. But if your teachers can't mentor you, they can only teach you, I think it's not enough. You need to walk on the footsteps of the masters.
I love what you've just touched on. Njoba ngiqeda ukubuya at my tour, even noma ngilende airport, azange ngiye nawami ngiye direct kuma. Namanje ngisese kuma. I've been there for about a week manje. And I'm enjoying it so much that I'm even staying a week longer. And luckily ugogo na ukhona.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I'm enjoying when I put Nduduzo. I'm enjoying ukugeza on the same path nalezalukwazi zami. Sometimes ngiyajabula sometimes nangizongena kule bhavu ngithola bangaligezanga kahle kunensila nyana. Ngijabula wes insila yami. Thank you bhuti wami.
Insila yami.
Ngivale lapha ngeproper ngigcwalisa amanzi. For the past week bhuti wami ngigezele ebhavini elilodwa noma wami nogogo wami. And I don't think other people will understand what that means. But what you've just touched on now, it's just, if these little things, before bayolala, just the humility they remind you of. And this is me, where American, you come back, sometimes no ma lungile ma yimi engizo no khumbulani ukuthi ngisesomfana yimi ngizogijima
ngizokwenza. The maternal energy is incredibly important. When you speak about inzalo, you spoke about inzalo elanga, the birth. These are the people that give birth to life, you know. Umana namhlanje mangifika endlini usathi ulambile. Yes. Like I'm married now, I have my wife. But engathi ulambile ngithi hawo. Mangihamba nonkosikazi la sidlile. Athi unkosikazi ngathi balambile abantwana. It's just like there's an example of a marimba that Ubaba Umuthwa invokes in his book Indaba My Children, where he speaks about the marimbas and how the marimbas, the mbiras, that all of these were feminine energies. And when you locate the Zimbabwean story of how these were discovered rather than built, kuthiwa they were mermaids. And nabo banale energy, that maternal energy, that came on earth and put these instruments next to riverbanks, particularly in Zimbabwe. And kuthiwa babethathe imkhonto, bethathe zonke ikhali kade kuliwa kakhulu. And they took all the weapons, they disappeared. And when they came back, these weapons had been converted to musical instruments. But then this is the power of a mother. Take the most dangerous instrument you can ever find and turn it into, and that's what they do with us. If we want to go out of tune, because particularly men, we're dealing with a lot of out of tuneness. In the spirit of Ndu, I speak about Senzeni na as one of the songs. And of course, we've invoked this in various registers as a question. We said Senzeni na during apartheid, you know, when we didn't understand the doings of, you know, a white man and the colonial system.
I just got goosebumps, I just got emotional.
Yeah.
Especially now, a question. Senzeni na, Senzeni na, Senzeni na, Senzeni na. Amapuno, amapuno. Oh, yo.
Yebo. Siyathokoza. And these were the things about the song and how songs are in themselves the messengers. Zithunyiwe lezi ngoma mkhulu. So that's why we should allow, when a song visits us again, we should allow the song to visit. But what said in me, I think it was 2019, and then I started seeing our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, invoking the same lyric in the context of gender-based violence, and they were like, Senzeni. And I started thinking, well, there are so many things we could say about this. One is that, a very clear one, is that abenzanga lutho, benze thina. Right?
Senzenina.
Senzenina.
We made you.
We made you.
Why are you killing us?
We made you. So
why are you raping us?
Exactly. So the illusion of a question mark was frustrating me. That this question mark suggesting that indaba yenzile. So in fact indaba yenzile ithina. So I started to think about, if senziwe ibona, we should be the ones singing that ekwenziweni kwethu we've lost untu. Ngoba kuthiwa ngesiZulu mabe umuntu enza an act that is that is seen as violent or you know, that lacks kindness, kuthiwa akasayena umuntu. So what really keeps us in the state of umuntu is izenzo. So bathi ma uselahla ubuntu, hayi akasayena umuntu bani. So ukuba umuntu is not a permanent state for us. Ukuba umuntu is to be constantly remade. So what has happened is that men, we've been born, saqhubeka nendlela, sikhohliwe ukwenziwa. So ke ngayishintsha ke lento ngayifaka i-inverted ukuthi cha lento lena it's a hyphened word actually. Senze is the one word, create. Nina means mother. Unina wakho.
Oh, unina, as they would say unyoko, unina.
Exactly. So senzenina means recreate us, you mother who knows the depth of our being. The one that carried us for 9 months, meditating, singing songs, praying for us. Sitayekile manje sifuna ukwakhiwa. So what does it mean to go at our mother's feet again? Ukuthi ma cha sengidlulekile ngicela ukuzowenziwa. That is why I resonate deeply with what you are saying about going back to the mother, because indawo yokuthini leyana sakhiwe kabusha. The biblical scripture, of course, with its origins, although diluted from Ethiopian knowledge systems, there is a story of a man that wanted to see God or something, and then he asked him, you know, and then I think he said, "Kufuneka uzalwe kabusha." And the man asked, so does it mean I must go back to my mother's womb? But being born again is a thing about renewal. It's a thing about going back in tune. And that's why we have rituals. Inzalo yelanga as that moment la siphinde siyotshuna khona. Umkhosi wokushwama is another moment. You know, we have all of these ritual and rites of passage la kuchunwa khona. So we're no longer in touch with those rites of passage, and that's why everything is going wrong. And of course, we have a colonial hand that created a dysfunctionality in a black home. Bangaka bangathi sikhule no baba, sibancane. So i-reference namhlanje ngubaba for such a big family. Where do I get my reference? I do not know how to be a father. What is going to happen? I'm going to mess up because I do not have a reference of being a father. So these are some of the things that we have to confront, that the fathers were in the mines. There was dysfunctionality. Babu Masegela tells us about the train that came between, you know, different places, and how the train started to symbolize the coming back of Ubaba. But also you could wait for the train, Ubaba kuthiwa kabuyanga ufile emayini, or ubulewa amaphoyisa or whatever. So, you know, we cannot speak about these challenges now, particularly in South Africa, and extract an entire history that has created this very violent man. But also it's not an excuse. The violent man needs to be recreated. He needs to remember the essence. Enziwe kabusha.
Reborn. He must be rebirthed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the process that I'm going through now, khona manje nami ngibuyele back to ebeleni.
Senziwa njalo impela.
Without even me being realizing it, just ukuthi nginalezalukwazi every day.
Thokozana.
I'm just being rebirthed.
Yeah.
I can only imagine ukuthi umuntu umephuma kulela khaya because ngithena ngilanda nje airport.
Waqonda khona.
Aqonda khona. Ingane bathi nabathi ngizanibona. Ngicela ukuye ebeleni lami nami qala.
Ibele.
Njoba ngize la kuwe namhlanje phuma kubo labo gogo lezalukwazi. Nama ngiqeda nala namhlanje ngiyela kubo.
Yebo kunjalo.
Ngitshela ukuthi ngizoba nani for as long as I feel like. When I'm ready, then I'll go back to my house.
Thokoza.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu for sharing your thoughts on the maternal side of the world.
Yeah.
That's why I guess we would call it Mama Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mother of mankind or humankind.
Kunjalo. I mean, even if you look at the universe and how it's constructed, and you realize ngendaba amanzi nezalo, you know, that we are surrounded by water, you know, it's really it represents the womb in many ways. That's why all our rituals must cleanser uhlangana namanzi. Lawa manzi is a symbol of ukuba sesibelethweni sikamama. And that's why this is so important for us. This rebirth is so important. And I think the depth of a mother, I mean, remember these people have cycles that are connected to the moon and the ocean. Men do not have such a connection that is so heavily in tune with the earth. But they are reminded every month of their connection with the moon, and it's regulated by the ocean. It's like satellite connected. Zulu Matabo will go into details about how these cycles inform a way of being, you know. So I think there is a big part of us that is forgotten. And this amnesia is of course due to the way that we are brought up. Sesikhuliswa ekoleni zabelungu. So sikhuliswa ngebele elingelona elakithi. So manje, whatever that we get, signela foreign things, foreign concepts, foreign languages. It's difficult, you know. Yeah.
If you have not had an opportunity to watch the Dr. Babzulu Matab, I think you are blessed, or busisegile, or whichever way you want to put it, unenhlanhla.
Yeah.
Because if you can just go a couple of episodes back, I think 10 episodes back here on the platform, the Hustlers Corner, you'll find a platform called the House of Sankofa. No Putu Mnisi, Paul Mnisi Wemvula. We had a great, we were so humbled to sit no Baba. And then he opened up, we sat for like 2 hours. The interview is there, so go check it out, guys. I think it's going to become one of the best interviews you've ever seen.
Wow.
And I think it's going to become, yeah, you'll be blown away by Loya Baba and just the information you're going to get. And I was so shocked to find out on how he was involved even with the cryptography technology.
Of course.
Way before sikhuluma ngama crypto nje manje kanje.
Of course.
I think the time asephesheya eCanada efunda khona.
Of course.
That man is an amazing, intelligent, I don't want to just call him mathematician or just scientist.
Yeah.
I think umuntu womoya na is amazing.
Umuntu womoya umkhulu. And the fact that he locates mathematics within the context of the Basotho people. Because this is again the way we tribute these concepts.
Because Iloni mic yakhe la empahleni ungakhohlwa lobe uyishaya.
Oh Nkosi yami.
Yebo hayi siqhubeka.
Yebo no ayikho inkinga. So indaba yabadumedi that he speaks about, the ways in which the Basotho people have always been aware of the stars. You know, he speaks about knowing by listening, hutsiba, and all of these concepts that are born within the language. I mean, when he speaks about the greeting, just the greeting, when someone, unlike maybe Zulu, sits in ninjani, and as in how are you, likai, meaning where are you situated in space. I think these are some of the things that we start thinking more intensely about how etymology and how our languages are housing an entire way of being, an epistemology. And Ubaba Zulu Matabo is one of the people that is one of our greatest leaders, you know, showing us the way, you know. He's written several books. One of my favorites is The Knowledge of the Desert. You know, he speaks about the desert flower in the Basotho tradition, and what does it mean to live in the desert. So I'm deeply moved by the work that he's doing, you know, and contextualizing technology in African kind of context. Because we always push technologies as things of the West. But there's been a lot of insurgents and resurgence of writers, even from Zimbabwe, writing about technology of tsila. They talk about the technology of the itinerary, ukuhamba, that as a technology. That mauhamba, you are connected to many things. And so I think there's a beautiful thing that's happening. And this is the way that my music starts to dance with these concepts. It starts to dialogue with these concepts. And look at the beautiful rain. Yeah.
For those who don't know, if you're not watching from South Africa, pula aene. That's what they would say in Setswana, meaning let it rain.
Yeah.
Because the rain in our culture symbolizes
Showers of blessings.
Thank you, sir.
Thokoza.
Thank you, sir.
Thokoza.
Wangena kanjani emculweni? How did you get into music? Let's go back to
Yeah.
yaqala kanjani lento.
Man, umama. My mother was a pianist. My father was a guitarist. Though I didn't spend too much time with my dad, you share a name with my father. Yeah. In fact, I just dedicated a song to him now on an album that people should check out of really young, some of the youngest people in South Africa, called Shuri. Most of them are from Pretoria and some are from Cape Town. And there's a song there that says, "Blessings to my late father." And the song, and I know I'm diverting.
Oh, he's late now.
Yeah.
Oh, mahalale ngoxolo.
Yeah.
So rest in peace.
Yeah, and the song really talks about ukushiwa uyena and not having a language for being a father. And later he came back, but the anger didn't allow me to sit down with him. And when he passed, I was like, oh no, I just missed out on an opportunity to make sense and speak sense because of my own judgments. And I don't even know what happened between my parents, but you know, so yeah. But I know you're asking about music. So he gave me the gift, but my mother nurtured the gift. But I was also born esontweni lamaZion. And this is really the thing that made me a musician, because I was like, there's a relationship between music and other worlds. AmaZion, they play music towards izambulo or imbono. So music is not just music, but music is a tool, an instrument, an energy field that leads us to a better seeing. Basically about apolofita, noma they prophesying. So this was me, my early musical influences, ushembe, amahubo, izayoni, and a bit of like Western church that we couldn't resist because they used to come with these big buildings and thina sihlala lana emaland kuthiwani igoqwana, and then there's this gigantic church with a pipe organ that I felt that it was invasive in a way. It's violence because we didn't choose to hear the organ. It imposed itself on us. And Babu Akau speaks about how tools of colonization include tonality, and how when we started singing like Western people, we were also somehow tuning into their own way of saying. And it's for the refusal of Shembe, it's for the refusal of the Zionist church, which were named then the Separatist church, that they wanted to maintain the folk sounds of the indigenous people in the music. So no radio for me till a very late age, no TV. I was lucky. I was born on the rural side and moved to the more semi-rural and then eventually in the township. So I was really blessed to be able to absorb the sounds of the spheres, just, you know. So I'm taught by the sun, I'm taught by the moon, I'm taught by the forest, I'm taught by the village, the uncles in the village, or Gogo and everyone. So I'm a product of Ndu. So music for me is a way of making sense of my being as umuntu.
And some more. I love podcasts because we're not limited to ama advert or ingoma.
Yeah.
We can just go on and on.
Yeah.
And the move to Johannesburg and you deciding to take up music as a professional career.
Yeah.
Ukuthi
When I graduated, well, when I did my matric, it was obvious that I had to work, because during my high school years, even my primary school years, bengisebenza lapha kumlungu. And Lomlungu, my grandmother used to work for him, and well, for the couple. Umalume wasebenza khona, my mom worked there, so leya ngadi nje ibishawa yithini, ingadi yomlungu. So it was clear to me that, because bese ngikwazi ukuthi ngithenga izinto ezithile ekhaya mangiphuma emsebenzini ngidlule lapha ngibamba izinto. So when I finished matric, it was a lot already. Wathi hayi uqedile manje ukufunda ndoda, hambe yosebenza, and you know, so there were options back then. Ungaba iphoyisa, ungabamba enye into, you know. So ngathola umsebenzi ebank. I think the African bank was just starting. So And I was doing this work of scoring. And scoring, basically, people needed loans. And it was January, so this became a bit traumatic for me because I was declining a lot of people. And my mom was like, decline. What am I supposed to do? My kids need to go to school. So it became painful for me. I felt like I was not doing, it's not the work. It wasn't work. Work is supposed to be so this became a way of saying I can't help. For me, there was a conflict between umsebenzi. In the traditional context, yes, understand umsebenzi as into ekwazi ukusiza umphakathi versus umsebenzi wokuthi umphakathi utshela ukuthi awukwazi ukusiza. There was a conflict, heavy conflict. This one time ngavele ngagibela sasithi ikhumbi ke thina ngase bebizana manje. Ngena kwikhumbi laphana kusekhona amajita uconductor agibele phezulu kwakho kanje kuhlanganiswa imali kube nabantu abanye kube khona umuntu ozongafuna ukukhokha size sibalo kuthiwa ibuyele emuva yonke.
That time nibhekwa kanje sipilini ubani owabhadalanga.
Yeah, udriver vele imise eceleni ukuthi madoda ayisahambi ke manje.
Ufuna imali yakhe.
Ivele ivumbuka imamba nithi hawu yazi ngikhohliwe ukukhokha. Well, that's how I got to Durban. Durban, what am I doing in Durban? I don't know. Ngehla kwenye indawo, very busy place. But in Market, very loud. Very loud, but it's got good energy. Yeah. You know, energy umsebenzi. So when I landed there, I think this energy was really strong. And I was walking. And as I was walking, okay, maybe I should go study something. Then I started hearing sounds. And that was Technical Natal, and guess who were there? Ubeko Mbatha, Zakes Bantwini, Mondli, Johani Mthethwa, Xolisa Dlamini, Nina Mkhize. This is where I found my wife as well, by the way. Omagugu. I found all of these people there. And of course, historically, we were told, no, Umnqobi was here, Black Coffee was here. I was like, man, this is the place. And of course from there it was natural therefore to move to Johannesburg. So that's how the whole thing, because the people that came before me were moving to Joburg, so it was a default position. But something interesting about coming to Joburg, it was through Babu Andile Enana, great piano master.
Amazing.
You know, so Babu Andile Enana used to have a show to Lilizel Lilizel.
Yeah.
I know we're exposing our age.
It's okay. We are great. Interviewers exposed.
Lilizel was a music show, and you know, so that's how I met Babu Oliver Mduduzo, Babu Chabukanyile, you know, Abu Mam Judith Sepuma, everyone I met there. So it was set up in that way. And of course, my first gig, like permanent gig to be part of a band, was Lebo Matosa. She was my big sister. She really looked after me, and you know, I had studied jazz, but she opened me to dance music, and you know, so many people to be thankful for, and I landed here, of course.
Johannesburg is not an easy place to land in and just kickstart your life, especially as a young person.
Of course.
Let's tell the story.
So I think now this is where this hybrid thing came in, and I think it came in handy for me because I also got a job then at Central Johannesburg College, which could take care of the basic bills and stuff.
And something Central Johannesburg.
You know what I mean?
Something about that. Something about that. And then we start.
Then yeah.
I met Papa and then.
Then it's born later, listen.
Yeah, listen down, sure.
So yeah, I think I must say, Aputi, that like, you know, back to that thing about an elder once said to me, people would always say we are lucky, and when they say luck, we think, okay, luck is just like isn't as very slangan and you don't know how. Then he says luck means L means living, U means under, and C means cosmic, and K means knowledge. Living under cosmic knowledge. So if you are attached to the cosmic knowledge, you are attached to Inkaba, you are attached to Ubizo, owezangalo emhlabeni. And the journey of Ubizo, Puti, as you would know, it's not the easiest journey, but it's the right journey. But also it's the only journey. So I must say that the universe, in that knowledge of the cosmos, has been very kind, and the alignment has been incredible. And yeah, I owe everyone. I owe you a lot of, gratitude. I owe everyone around me. Just you are the people that did it, and we were like, wow, this is powerful. We were just like coming under apartheid, and they were like, these brothers, yourself, Obabum Dumasile, a lot of people. It's like, wow, there's an energy. I could do something, and something of my own. And this is what I love about the work that you do. You are very focused on doing the work under the umbrella of blackness.
Yeah, but
Yeah, black brands, supporting black talents, black clothing, black. I watch Puti, what you do. So I'm just saying, like, a lot of it is buko.
Yeah, but
you guys have created this mirror where we look, not born, and you are not selfish in your journeys. You always, I always think of Uputzola as well.
Yeah.
When I think of you, always for some reason.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Poet.
It's like this robust energy. It's like, ipupo,
Yeah.
And so we're thankful for those lessons, and of course a lot of the lashes esishawa industry shayenina sezwangani, so sazi avoid asashawa ezinye.
Yeah.
So it should get better and better.
I always say
over
that
time.
Every generation should be better than the generation before.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
And I always say, I love what they're doing on Amapiano. They are writing their own history. Story sabo now.
Very important.
They're creating their own sound. And as I was overseas, you travel quite a lot. I'm sure now you've experienced on how their genre is actually growing all over the world.
It's the biggest.
And actually, and I told myself intention overseas, I just need to interview a lot of these Amapiano young guys. Guys, are you aware of what you are a part of? It's bigger than you. And what you guys have started and what you guys are doing is now global. Something that we've always wanted, even the generations before me. They've always been striving to get this global appeal, taking South African music, exporting it to the world. Now, guys, it's your time that you guys are doing it during this internet age. And it's actually blowing up at a rate that is faster than them even comprehending. Abanye Babo, they are not even aware of how big their names are per share. And Abanye Babo, they are waiting for phone calls to be called. And I'm saying on this camera to some of them, they must just be brave and go out there. They'll be shocked what they find is out there.
No, Puti, this is one of our greatest exports currently, and it's a lot of pride. For me also, what is particularly exciting is how this comes as a kind of offshoot or an extension of Kwaito. It's every now and again where a genre is created, it's invented, So it's a very unique opportunity. And I always say, because when people say I'm a piano, of course, now I think I'm part of the genre because you know what I mean. So, I've been playing I'm a piano. So it's beautiful to see how young people are so creative and they're finding their own expressions. Because I think in the end, sometimes is not to find an outlet to express your own thoughts. And black people in themselves are very artistic people. And that's why sometimes a lot of them get frustrated in the corporate world because they don't exercise any form of creativity. And that's why it's important to always create.
Yes.
Because sakiwe kanjalo. And so if the next generation or the generation current is focusing their energy on creating, I think we have a healthy kind of future. And Amapiano, of course, man, this is the genre that's moved the world.
Why jazz? Why did you choose jazz? It would be associated with Abo Baba Badala, and it would be associated with maturity and abantu sebeyiphilile impilo. What is jazz? Where does it come from? And how did you get interested in jazz? Why didn't you? Why not like us, like Kwaito or house? Or,
Ish, but Thokoza. I think growing up, kula sonto lamazayoni, and also ne gift yabaphansi, I got attracted to this notion of presenting a world that is unknown. I became so drawn to this idea of intwaso. And intwaso doesn't mean umuntu oya emanzini kuphela. Intwaso means the unfolding. So I became attached to music that unfolds without any knowledge or preconceived knowledge of where it might go. So in other words, I became really attracted to vulnerability, like this sense of asazi. Every now and again, I was reminded of how much I do not know, and I wanted to be in that state. Something about that keeps the child in me alive. And of course, people think of jazz as, the music that showcases sophistication, class, and everything. I checked out of all of those zones because for me, I'm attracted to improvisational aspects of jazz. And improvisation is webula. So the way I approach music is Ponza Matambo. When I play in Ponza Matambo, if in Ponza Matambo, it means I tap into another world and I do a reading that I give back to the people that are listening. Bati. I couldn't find that in any other genre. So what I do now is I take those sensibilities. And of course, we still have to educate about jazz. Jazz is an African music. Jazz came through a catastrophe of slave trade, where people were taken and grouped in ways that they could not relate to each other via language. So there was a language barrier where people could not, but music was banned as well in slave trade. But also dance was banned because they started to communicate via dance. The drum was banned. And jazz becomes this very distant memory of home while you are in a foreign land to say, who am I? And the glimpses that you could remember is the blues, it's the Negro spirituals. So we often think of jazz as something that comes to us, but it is something that departed from us and dialogued with other genres and echoed back into the mother. It came back to us. So the jazz as a collective memory of Africa and the diaspora is how I understand it. And of course, when something is commercialized, isibekwe sentini manje sekuthiwa ngena ngemali nani usay jazz musician, usebukela amanye ama-genres phansi and all of those things. Those are human problems that come with into superiority and the genre that class and it's like classical music iphakeme. So I don't associate with that. Ngizobhula ngifuna umculo ongivumela to invoke the ancestral dimension in the most efficient way. Ngibuyisa umlayezo uze kubantu. So for me, it could have been any genre as long as I'm allowed to stay without knowing. There is a deep sense that I'm invoking the liminal space, this place of not knowing.
Upenyo likes giving me props for saying that because I always say to him, I love learning new things.
Yeah.
Even when podcasting started, I'm in there. Anything that is new, I always want to immerse myself and say, I'm a student of life, I want to learn. So I like what you're saying with staying in a place of not knowing.
Yeah.
You humble yourself and say, I'm a student of life. I'm here to learn.
No. That would be the biggest mistake, but and even in research, I find this to be equally true. I've spent now 3 and something years doing a research project. Coming out of the project, the one thing that was in my heart when I was submitting in December was how much I don't know after reading all of these books, after writing and problematizing, theorizing, putting methodologies. And I was like, studying is an exercise of humility. Studying is not about knowing in as much as about exposing that you do not know. So the more you acquire knowledge, the more it exposes how broad the paradigm of knowledge is. Ukwazi Ukwazi also means ngesiZulu, it means to experience. You know, in also the Christiania's kind of biblical text, ukwazi means when someone says they knew someone, it means they were intimate with someone. And this intimacy is leading into a place where we do not know. So there is a sense in which ukwazi is really a thing that reminds us that we do not know. So I think we don't entirely understand in knowledge. Ngoba sicabanga ukuthi thina sengazi lokho but wazi lokho in order to expose that awukwazi lokho. Uphinde so mawazi more kuvela more of what you do not know. So iba udalako, it's a thing that we will not reach. We'll never reach knowing, otherwise ngaba sikho la emhlabeni. Ubizo sizofuna. Siyafuna ubizo liyasibiza lona. But then we leave this life and go back. We're still searching, you know.
Going back to the music, uthe wena umudlala ngathi uyisangoma uthi wena umudlala ngathi wena uyabhula.
Yebo.
And mina with my knowledge isangoma mostan esibhulayo. Kodwa uma ngizwa legama isangoma, ngoma mostan means song. Isangoma.
And Isa means to liken something to. Isa mvula. Isa means to liken. So isangoma would basically mean the one who behaves like a song. So, but how does a song behave?
Those of songs.
Ingakho
they are always
abengoma. Abengoma. Yes, abengoma.
Sorry, continue, I disturbed you?
Yeah, no. Iyo le abengoma. Ngoba ingoma yona. Ngoma means to heal. Ukwengoma. But it also means the drum. In the Basotho kind of paradigm, they will say koma, which now brings in the notion of truth. Koma means truth. You know, it has many invocations. They would also say, for instance, the Bavenda people would say malopo or malombo. You know what I mean? All of these things, they talk about this one thing of the drum, dance, truth, a moment of revelation, music. So, in other words, when we say you are a musician, we do not have a word of the equivalent word of music in our African languages. Even the word ucula, when I speak to the elders, bathaliko lelo gama, kwakuwama missionaries, ehluleka ukuthi ucwila, and ucwila means to immerse oneself, ungena deeply, to lose the self, to surrender. So babesho nje mabenza music to siyacwila, we are disappearing, we are surrendering. Yabona, so and the word ngoma ayikwazi ukuthi music kuphela, isho iqiniso, isho isambulo. So that's what I'm attracted to. That these properties within our etymology should be invoked still within the jazz paradigm. And also this is the way that I'm expressing the gift yokwebhula. Mawubheka amathambo epiano indlovu, and in isiZulu when we give you the highest respects, it's wena wendlovu, you of the highest. And it's not a mistake that ngisebenza ngamathambo endlovu. And of course, all of these instruments came from Africa. There were combinations of imbira and, you know, so mbira zavazim. Even that in Sishona, zavazim means mbiras of the gods, of the great gods. So music awukaze wahamba wodwa, uhamba nawo yonke lemsebenzi. Ayini imvula.
Yona yini kodwa yasdisturb kodwa yini.
Kayinhle.
Nithi puti. Let's talk about your I don't want to say last, but your latest or last isilungu naso.
Yeah.
The last time you were busy with the project, and we were also trying to align with the time at which when you were going to release Loyo Msebenzi.
Thokoza. So in the spirit of do really invokes the cosmology. It brings together all the ideas we were talking about. The question became, where is music happening? We can hear it, yes, but it's not tangible. So where is it happening? And I started to think, there is a place unseen where songs are happening. So when we sing, we are tapping into an ongoing music. So the idea of a composer, I'm not composing music, but I'm composing myself in order to see and hear where music is happening. So the whole project was really about the composition of the self, the meditations of the self, the going deeper into the self-knowledge, the deeper knowledge of the self, to create a way of locating myself in a communal context. And that's what the album was doing, and this is what it continues to do. People go into it as a site where songs are singing, and they go in and dance with those songs.
You are an international musician. You're with Blue Note Records.
Togos,
Very, very well known in the jazz musical space globally.
Togos.
And for me, that's quite an honor to be sitting with you. And nangihlala nawe bese kunimvumo. Mina nawe siyazi what this means. It's the first time ever.
Wow.
Ngenza interview bese lokhu kwenzeka.
Thokoza
Sikhuluma
mkhulu.
ngesintu vele.
Thokoza mkhulu. Bavuma.
Ngichaza ukuthi basibhekile bayabona sinethwa imvula kodwa sihlele emvuleni for bona.
Bavuma abadala.
Bayavuma abadala.
Bavuma. Because we always seeking their confirmation. That's why kuphonzwa amathamba njalo makuphonzwa amathamba kuthiwa siyavuma. The whole thing of spirituality is about agreement. Spirituality is understanding that there is a higher world. And when we say siyavuma, it means we are retained. That's why I say, likai, we are situated with them, the ones that live in space. So lena is a symbolism of this connection.
Isinikeza ichance ukuthi senze enye interview.
Yeah.
Because ngiyazi ushawa isikhathi ujahile. Angeke sikhona ukuthi simele izime bese saqhubeka. Ngifuna ukuyihafula interview. Ngifuna iphuma abantu bayibukele. Sizoba ne-part 2.
Thokoza mkhulu.
Ngiyathanda.
Thokoza, uthandwa yimina. Uthandwa yimina. Makwande mkhulu. Makwande. Thank you for this.
Last words mfethu ngicela uxoxe nabo mhlawumbe ubavalelise ongathanda ukukusho kuyivala.
Well, I just want to thank the podcast and for doing this important work. The books don't have this knowledge. The internet doesn't have this knowledge. So we are thankful to sit around the table and talk about who we are, and all the love to the listeners and the people that support this. And may you please share, and follow, as my brother would say.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the great son of the soil, the incredible, legendary, iconic, because it's going to go down in history. Guys, if you go search and look for his work and go listen to his music and what he represents, and I guess some of you guys who've had an opportunity to listen to this episode, you can tell that I'm sitting with a great man. So you're really blessed. The fact that you're watching the first podcast, it's for a reason. Thokozani bo, siyavuma. Vumani bo, siyavuma. Ngiyakuthanda mfowethu. I'll see you guys soon.